What if you could spend 700 years suffering in purgatory, or be freed in just 2 weeks? The difference came down to one thing: the prayers of people saying the rosary for the dead. Her name was Alexandra. She was a young girl of noble station born into wealth, privilege, and high society. Everything about her life screamed worldliness. She dressed fashionably. She lived for entertainment and pleasure. She was exactly the kind of person you'd expect to care nothing about spiritual things. But then something miraculous happened. St. Dominic was preaching in her area about the rosary. And somehow, through God's grace, Alexandra's heart was opened. She experienced a miraculous conversion, a complete turnaround from her worldly life to genuine faith. St. Dominic enrolled her in the Confraternity of the Rosary, and she became part of this community of believers committed to praying the rosary regularly. Alexandra had changed, but her past, the years of worldly living, the sins she'd committed, the example she'd set for others, all of that still mattered. And then she died. After her death, something extraordinary happened. Alexandra appeared to St. Dominic, but she wasn't appearing to tell him she was in heaven. She was coming from purgatory with a desperate plea. "I've been condemned to 700 years in purgatory," she told him. 700 years? Think about that number. 7 centuries of suffering, of purification, of waiting before she could enter heaven. Why such a long sentence? She explained, "Because of my own sins and those I had caused others to commit by my worldly ways." This is crucial to understand. Alexandra wasn't just being punished for her personal sins. She was also being held accountable for the sins she had caused others to commit. When she lived her worldly lifestyle, when she set a bad example, when she influenced others to follow her down the wrong path, all of that had consequences. Her fashionable worldliness had led others into sin. And now she was paying the price. But Alexandra came with a request. She implored St. Dominic to ease her pains by his prayers, and to ask the confraternity members to pray for the same purpose. She knew that St. Dominic was a holy priest whose prayers had power. And she knew that the members of the Rosary Confraternity people committed to praying the rosary daily could help her. St. Dominic immediately did as she asked. He prayed for Alexandra himself, and he asked the confraternity members to offer their rosaries for her soul. Across the region, faithful members of the confraternity began praying Hail Mary after Hail Mary, decade after decade, rosary after rosary, all offered for Alexandra's release from purgatory. And then, just 2 weeks later, something amazing happened. Alexandra appeared to St. Dominic again. But this time, everything was different. She was more radiant than the sun. She was glowing with heavenly light. She had been quickly delivered from purgatory by the prayers of the confraternity members. Let that sink in. 700 years reduced to 2 weeks. That's the power of the rosary, prayed for the souls in purgatory. The prayers of faithful believers on earth had freed her from centuries of suffering. But Alexandra's second appearance wasn't just to say thank you. She had a mission. She told St. Dominic that she had come on behalf of all the souls in purgatory. She was speaking not just for herself, but for countless others who were suffering in purification, waiting for prayers to help them. She begged St. Dominic to continue preaching the rosary. "Don't stop," she urged. "Keep teaching people about this prayer. Keep spreading this devotion, because it has power to help souls in purgatory." And she had a specific request for the living. Ask their relations to offer their rosaries for them. In other words, she was asking people to pray the rosary specifically for their deceased loved ones, family members, friends, anyone who had died and might be in purgatory. Then Alexandra made a promise on behalf of all the souls in purgatory. She said that these souls would reward abundantly those who prayed for them, once they entered into glory. When they finally reached heaven, they would remember the people who helped them get there, and they would intercede powerfully for those who had offered rosaries for their release. So what's the lesson for us today? First, that our worldly example matters more than we think. Alexandra was held accountable not just for her own sins, but for the sins she caused others to commit by her worldly ways. When we live worldly lives, when we set bad examples, when we influence others to sin, there are real, eternal consequences. Second, that purgatory is real and the souls there need our prayers. Alexandra was a converted believer, enrolled in the Rosary Confraternity. She was saved, but she still had to be purified. The souls in purgatory can't pray for themselves, they need us to pray for them. Third, that the rosary has incredible power to help souls in purgatory. 700 years reduced to 2 weeks. That's not a minor difference. That's the power of faithful people offering rosaries for the dead. Fourth, that we should specifically offer rosaries for our deceased loved ones. Don't just pray the rosary for your own intentions. Regularly dedicate rosaries to your deceased family members, friends, and anyone who might be in purgatory needing prayers. And finally, that the souls in purgatory will reward us abundantly when they reach heaven. This isn't selfish, it's a beautiful spiritual exchange. We help them by our prayers now. They help us by their intercession when they reach glory. So tonight, when you pray your rosary, dedicate it to the souls in purgatory. Offer it for your deceased parents, grandparents, relatives, friends. Offer it for the souls who have no one to pray for them. Because somewhere, a soul like Alexandra might be waiting, and your rosary could be what sets them free.